Fox 61 News at 5 starts now.
Now at 5, new details tonight about an alleged sexual abuse case at a school. The concerns parents expressed to teachers who are now facing charges.
Why are we enforcing 200 taxes?
Bob Stefanowski is having trouble finding his footing.
Republican gubernatorial candidate Bob Stefanowski clashes with state Democrats today over a new tax cut plan. Tonight we're hearing from both sides.
There is a vicious cycle of guns moving south and drugs moving north.
Senator Chris Murphy just back from Mexico, what he says needs to be done to address gun and drug exchanges at the border.
And tracking major drought concerns in one local community will share the warning being issued to homeowners on how to save water.
Good evening and thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. We're on a weather watch alert tonight. Some rain possibly moving in.
Yeah, let's take a live look across the state. Nice day outside. When could we see that turn into rain? We'll send it over to Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank for the answer. Rach, some tonight, right? But you could just about count the raindrops.
Yeah, we have several hours before it arrives, and I think most of the state will get less than 1/10 of an inch of rain, which is really hardly going to be a drought buster for us. However, we'll take what we can get, and there might be a couple areas that do a bit better. You can see this line of showers and thunderstorms. It looks really threatening. There's a lot of lightning associated with it, but it is moving at a snail's pace, and by the time it gets here, it will be in a weakened state. I wanted to show you the future radar here. 7 o'clock tonight, we are still dry, border to border across the state. Heading towards 10 o'clock, this is when we're starting to see some of those showers move into Connecticut, even a thunderstorm out there as well. And while some areas might be able to get a locally heavy downpour, others may just get a few raindrops. This will go through the overnight and into early Wednesday morning, likely before the sun comes up. It's out of here, and then clouds will break for sunshine, and we'll see falling levels of humidity heading through the day on Wednesday. Current temperatures, we are in the mid-80s for a lot of the state, upper 80s for parts of northern Connecticut, and low temperatures tonight will be in the 70s. Heading through the day tomorrow, after a pre-dawn shower, clouds break for sun, high temperatures climb into the low to mid-80s, and humidity gradually falling back through the day. We even have some refreshing overnight low temperatures on the way for later this week behind the front. We'll explain your full forecast coming up.
Thank you, Rachel. Well, drought concerns continue in Connecticut, and new tonight, another community is now asking residents to conserve water.
And the city of Norwich issuing a water supply warning today. Fox 61's Ben Goldman joins us live in studio with what it means for the residents. Ben.
Brent and Sarah, officials in Norwich say that their reservoirs are low in capacity due to drought conditions and are now asking residents to help conserve water. Norwich Public Utilities issuing a water supply warning today, asking residents to reduce their water use by 10%. Officials say that the town's 2 reservoirs are at about 72% of their capacity, which is about 228 days of water supply. The company giving residents some suggestions on how they can cut down on their water usage.
Nothing compulsory. What we're doing is encouraging people to be more mindful. If you can take a shorter shower, if you can only use your washing machine or dishwasher with a full load, if you can hold off on washing your car, if you could not top off your pool.
Now, officials expect their water supply to go down to 70% by the end of the week and say that they'll keep the water supply warning in place until conditions improve. Brent, Sarah, back to you.
All right, Ben, thank you. Well, a new school year has begun in the small western Connecticut town of Plymouth.
But old wounds remain as the wheels of justice move toward legal action on those involved in an alleged sexual misconduct case.
Fox 61's Matt Karen is live at the Plymouth Police Department now with what we've learned about an alleged cover-up. Matt.
Yeah, hi guys. These arrest warrants are filled with personal accounts and victim interviews of some people who say that school administrators tried to placate both parents and students who were actively complaining about sexual misconduct involving a teacher at the Plymouth Center School. It's the second day back for students in Plymouth.
All of my kids went to Plymouth Center School.
As they try to escape the shadow of a circle of sexual misconduct allegedly perpetrated by former teacher James Eschert and allegedly covered up by 4 other school personnel. Finally reported to DCF by the principal of a separate school.
And the kids have to come first, especially, if you dedicate your whole career to them.
All 4 women charged with failing to report sexual abuse were released on a promise to appear. We tried to talk to 2 of them. Only the dogs were home at the Bristol house of math interventionist Rebecca Holleran. Hello. It's Matt Caron with Fox 61 News looking for Melissa. While nobody answered the door at the home of fellow math interventionist Melissa Morelli.
If I thought somebody was hurting children, I'd turn them in no matter who they were.
A Plymouth mom who requested to remain anonymous told Fox 61 her son had Mr. Eschert in 3rd grade.
I remembered something that my son said to me back when he was in his class. He was having problems with some assignments. He didn't do a couple of assignments. And I asked him, I said, isn't your teacher going to be mad at you that you didn't do that? And he said, no, Mr. Eschert really only pays attention to the girls.
The warrants related to the new arrests tell the story of stagnant school leaders, former principals Sherry Turner and Crystal Collins, fielding emails from parents asking their children be switched out of Eschert's class, and conversations with students who told Principal Turner, quote, he was touching us inappropriately. We want you to do something about it. To which Mrs. Turner replied, we'll work on it. Eschert is believed to have abused more than a dozen victims over several years, police discovering inappropriate images on his camera. September 7th, the others on September 12th. Meanwhile, both school and town officials here in Plymouth remain tight-lipped about this investigation, but they did tell me that parents should be assured that student safety is priority number one. We're live here outside the Plymouth Police Department. Matt Caron, Fox 61 News.
Thank you, Matt. We now know the name of a woman who was struck and killed by a car in Wallingford last week. Police say 60-year-old Dawn Darcy was hit by a car on Old Colony Road last Monday after 9 p.m. She was taken to the hospital where she later died. Police say the driver stayed on scene and they don't believe speed or alcohol were factors in the crash. No one has been charged. We now know the name of the man who drowned in the East Mountain Reservoir. Police say 41-year-old Jamie Ward drowned while swimming in Waterbury last night. The Waterbury Fire Department used multiple boats and a dive team to search for him. Jamie was pronounced dead at the scene. The incident still remains under investigation.
New tonight, Senator Chris Murphy says more needs to be done to combat drug and gun trafficking. He says the U.S. needs to work with Mexico to combat the rise of fentanyl and guns being brought across the border.
We have got to have smarter, stronger policy to stop fentanyl from moving from Mexico into the United States and to stop these guns, which are used by the cartels to produce fentanyl, from moving from the United States into Mexico.
Now, Murphy recently met with leaders in Mexico to discuss the issue. In Connecticut, there's been a 418% increase in fentanyl-related deaths between 2015 and 2019. And happening tomorrow at the Capitol, an International Overdose Awareness Day event will take place on the South Lawn beginning at noon. Governor Lamont and other local leaders will be on hand. 1,531 white flags will be planted on the Capitol lawn to memorialize the lives lost to drug overdose in Connecticut just last year. Well, new tonight, Republican gubernatorial candidate Bob Stefanowski clashing with state Democrats now over a new tax cut plan.
He says it will save people money, but opponents call it silly. Fox 61's political reporter Emma Wolfhorst is at the Capitol with more details.
Tuesday morning, Bob Stefanowski and his running mate Laura Devlin said if they're elected this November, they'll permanently eliminate 200 of what they call nuisance taxes here in Connecticut.
On my first day as governor, when Laura and I walk into this building, we're going to instruct the Commissioner of Revenue Services to simply stop collecting the bottom 200 taxes.
He's talking about a Yankee Institute study claiming there are over 340 taxes in the state of Connecticut. Stefanowski says the 200 smallest of those deliver less than 0.25% of the total revenue, just about $50 million. He says if he's elected, he'll immediately direct the state revenue department to stop collecting these taxes, then pass legislation to repeal them.
Why are we enforcing 200 taxes that deliver less than 0.25% of the revenue of the state of Connecticut, many of which cost more to collect than the revenue they bring in?
But state Democrats call this idea silly.
Hearing Bob Stefanowski talk about affordability for working families or for the middle class is like hearing Donald Trump campaign on modesty and kindness.
Bronin calls this plan nickels and dimes compared to the approximately $600 million in tax cuts Governor Lamont and state Democrats approved earlier this year.
Bob Stefanowski is having trouble finding his footing and having trouble coming up with serious proposals. You can't build a gubernatorial campaign on the idea of a tax cut when the governor just enacted a tax cut 13 times bigger.
Now, Mayor Bronin says it is worth taking a look at these 200 taxes, but says the bigger point is Stefanowski hasn't found his message yet. Stefanowski says while these taxes aren't a lot of money, they do add up to administrative burden, making it difficult in Connecticut for businesses and residents. At the Capitol, Emma Wolforst, Fox 61 News.
Marcus Brown defeats Jack Hennessy in a second recount of votes from Bridgeport's primary election. The recount finds Brown won by 2 votes. On Friday, a judge issued an order for another recount in the 127th District Democratic primary election after Brown filed an appeal of his loss. He initially led the race by 5 votes on primary night, margin so slim it triggered an automatic recount.